Well, thank you all for popping in here and being interested, and thank you to our board members who are here. The kind of the concept behind this is we're currently in the process of accepting applications for board member, and we just wanted to give people a chance to ask questions of existing board members, people that have varying level kind of experience on the board, and let anybody ask whatever questions they have about the process, about what it's like to be on the board, about the commitment, about what we hate, what we love. It's totally open, so that's a risk, but we're willing to take it, I guess, for you all. The let's really quickly let's go ahead and have the board members that are on the call. Let's introduce ourselves to everybody else so that we can kind of know who we're dealing with and what we're doing. I'll go first. In case you don't know, I'm Stephen Ligon, and I'm the president this year. I've been on the board. My term, I believe, officially started 2017, but I was taking somebody else's end of their term over, I think, at the end of 18. And I'll be on until next year, as far as I know. And then let's just go ahead and introduce ourselves and we'll get started here.
I'm Steve Reese. I have been on the board for 4 years now. Started a 3-year term and then just restarted this year with the role of president-elect. Were we supposed to answer any questions or just say who we are?
Just who we are.
Okay, the end.
I mean, if you want to add something else, go for it. And then we had, let's see who else. Lydia, you want to go next, and then we'll get to Gabriella.
Sure. I'm Lydia Hedrick. I've been a licensed realtor for 3 years, a real estate school, licensed realtor for 5 years, real estate school instructor for 3 years, and this is my second year on the board.
I'm Gabriela Chavez. I've been a realtor for 4.5 years, and I've been on the board just starting this year.
Cool. Thank you. So we've got different levels of kind of who's been on the board for a little while. We've been on a few years. Some have varying backgrounds of how they got here. But I'll just open it up for questions. If you guys have something specific you want us to address, we'll be happy to discuss it with you.
How often are meetings? We meet every other month.
This is Linda Tracy Ryburn, and anyone can answer this, but why did you choose to be on the board? What motivated you?
Ooh, that's a good one. I can go first, I guess. I was kind of curious about how it actually functioned. I mean, that's the best answer I've got. I wanted to see firsthand what went on because we spend a lot of money for these things and don't necessarily take advantage of the tools that we have even until we kind of know the story behind them and how they work. And I learn best by doing. So I wanted to do it that way. Well, the other folks answer too. And then it gives you, I mean, not only that, but it gives you a great opportunity to, in some ways, give back to an industry that's done a lot for us. So it's kind of a way for me to learn, and it's a way to give back in my head.
For me, it was kind of the same way, although that just wanted to know how things worked and being able to explain like what are my dues covering is why I got involved in committees. And through that, through committee work, I met some board members, and I had one person that said, "Hey, I really enjoyed being on this committee with you. You should run for the board." And that is why I'm here. And I was hoping to be able to contribute some, and I hope that I have, that other people feel that way, but I've also gotten a lot back from it too.
Well, that's great. So how much time does it take from your business? That's probably my biggest concern.
So we get our agendas approximately a week before the meeting. So to go through and look through the agenda and educate ourselves on that. If we need to do any research, might be an hour or less. Our meetings hopefully are about an hour and a half, sometimes two. If it's really beefy, it might go until noon, but we start at 9:30 and try to be out by 11 o'clock, and that's every other month. If you serve in an office capacity where you're on the executive committee, then there'd be an additional meeting before the board of directors meeting. Is that kind of, am I missing something, y'all?
That's pretty good. And then as far as we do have sort of extracurricular board activities, if you will, that, when we have various board events, which we're starting to get back more into having in-person type events, we strongly encourage board member attendance. And we don't necessarily require it, but we really like it when board members show up for things. That helps us a lot. And like Steve said, you have more of a time commitment the deeper you get involved. But just as a generic, just as a board member, it probably is a few hours a week. It's not a huge time commitment.
Yeah, it's definitely what you choose. Like, I try to go to most of the events that I can make, but I'm also not a top producer. So for me, even though I do probably spend, more time volunteering with Oakmar, that's my choice. Um, I'm just required to do the board meetings, and they do give you those dates at the beginning of the year. So it's not like they're going to spring a board meeting on you. So hopefully you can work your schedule around that. But for me, it's never taken away from my business. But again, I'm not a top producer, so I'm not constantly working either.
If memory serves me correctly, aren't the meetings like the second Wednesday of every month?
Usually the first Thursday every other month, unless there's some strange calendar thing, and then we have to kind of figure that out as we go along.
What do you guys like best about being on the board?
I look at committee involvement, whether it's a standing committee, a task force, or board of directors, which is basically another committee, as really maximizing what you get out of your dues dollars. You could belong to the Chamber of Commerce or a country club or whatever for networking opportunities, but if you don't get involved, join a committee, go to events, meet other people, then you're really just paying dues for nothing. And I love the opportunity to be able to have a voice in shaping policy around the association, and getting to meet lots of members that I wouldn't have met otherwise. It's just a whole well-rounded element of my business.
I'll jump in on this one too. One of the things that's really powerful about the board experience in general, kind of like what Steve said, is that you get to be around other people in the industry with diverse backgrounds and different opinions, different ways of thinking, different ways of doing things. And when you work with people like that to come to solutions for things that are bigger than yourself, that are industry wide, it gives you a different perspective on how things are built and how things really run, there's no other way to get it without being there. You can kind of see it, but until you're actually there hands on and see how the work is done, you can't really appreciate it, I don't think.
So do you have to have like knowledge of you guys go by the Roger rules, right?
Okay, for our board meetings, our official rules are Robert's Rules of Order. We are not, we do follow them. We don't have like a parliamentarian snapping people's heads off if they say something out of order, though. It's just to keep the meeting flowing and to have a clear direction and to have a process to get things done is the purpose behind all of that. That's if the rules don't lend themselves to getting things done, then in my mind they don't have a purpose. So that's why we have that, and we do use them to follow the agenda and to stay on track. And then people have, you can bring up. It's not. You can dig into Robert's Rules really deep and become, obsessed with them and really enjoy that side of it. But most of our board members don't go that deep with it. It's like we know how to vote, we know how to make a motion, we know how to ask a question, those kind of things. But we don't use them, as arrows at each other, as far as I can tell.
What positions are becoming open? Will be open soon?
Right. As far as what we would come into as a new board member, it would just be as a director on the board of directors. If you were to fill out the application for that position, just a generic director, then once you're a director on the board, there's opportunities if you're interested for the officer positions like the secretary, treasurer, the vice president, president-elect, those things, and those are elected by the board officers every year.
So what do you all least like serving about on the board? I want to hear from Gabriella. Since she's the newest one, I want to hear from her first.
I don't think there's anything that I do not like, but I do feel like I don't know enough. So I do want to learn more. I think just because of COVID, and we hadn't been meeting and stuff like that, I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't learned a lot more other than just being present at the meetings. But I want to be a little bit more involved. I want to know how we get to, the decision making. I mean, I know we vote and stuff like that, but I'm saying I can't explain it, sorry. Just being a little bit more involved and knowing how we get from point A to point B. I want to get more Hispanic agents involved. There's a lack of Hispanic leadership, and I keep bringing that up everywhere I go. But then again, I know it's also on the agents. I just had an agent tell me the other day that I was talking about RPAC, and she said, well, maybe RPAC should do a better job of explaining. And I think they do a good job because that's how I learned about RPAC. But I think we need to expose ourselves more just to attract more people. I thought today we were going to have a lot of people on here. And I know that people are busy, but I also think it's a lack of interest. And I want to learn what I can do to create more interest, to have more people involved. Specifically, I want to work on getting Hispanic people, agents involved, because that's something that I see that we need a lot. Good?
Yeah, that I was kind of thinking along the same lines of Gabriella. Is I don't have that many people reach out to me, but if I meet somebody new and I'm like, oh, I'm on the board of directors, they say, oh, well, why is this like this? Or, something that they're upset about. And I'm like, oh, well, it's kind of out of our control, try to give them some information on it and say, well, if you really want to make a difference, why don't you volunteer? You can be on this committee or this program or whatever. So I guess what I like the least are people complaining but not willing to get involved.
Yes.
That have your opinions, and if you want to make change, be part of it. And I understand not everybody can commit to a 3-year term like being on the board, but we've got our programs where you can just drop into those meetings. You don't have to commit to it for a full year. So, come have your input and, air your grievances, but also be part of the solution.
Yeah, I think that is hard. And one of the things that I've figured out gradually is that there are people who just need to be heard, whether or not they really even have a complaint that they want a solution for. That may not even be the situation. It may just be that they want to have their opinion heard or have whatever their issue is heard. And when they're done, they're done. It's really interesting sometimes because if you ask, well, do you want us to do something, or is there something that we can kind of take an action on to try to help? No, I just felt like I needed to let somebody know. Okay. And sometimes that's really what people need, is to be heard in those situations. It's strange. I think that along those lines, that's probably, I think, the least favorite thing for me. It may be that our time is so limited, and there are so many, there's almost endless work that you could do to try to improve things and to choose things to work on and to make things better. So to actually focus on certain things that really matter for a limited period of time, knowing that, in the next couple of years we'll be out of here and somebody new will be in. Do they care about what we do? I don't know. So it's one of those things where you still have to just have that knowledge and do it anyway, because you don't know what little ripple effect there could be after you're finished. Steve, what's your
The thing
least
I
favorite?
like the least, well, my least favorite is just the members out there who really don't understand and don't really want to take advantage of ways that they can to learn about the association, reading the emails or whatever, and that they feel like that they're not represented, or that they are just paying dues for nothing, or they equate paying association dues for just MLS access. I want them to really feel the value of membership more than just slinging lock boxes and whatever the MLS offers them. But don't get me wrong, we need those members out there slinging lock boxes and paying dues. I just want them to, I want them all to feel some value of membership.
It seems like there's been a lot of newer agents do get involved in more of the philanthropic part of Oakmar, but it doesn't seem like I mean, I know Steve and Steve, you're both seasoned agents, and several of you are, but it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of seasoned agents that get involved in in really, like just like the board and the different workings of that. Why do you think why do you think seasoned agents don't get involved?
I think some of it may be the first question that you guys have, which is what's the time requirement? And or what's in it for me? Why would I do it if I had a few extra hours? Why would I spend those few extra hours on this? Is the question I think that people that are already busy with business and things think of. And then there's also the perception of, or maybe the mindset of, well, I'm doing my business, and as long as they leave me alone, I'm going to leave them alone. I'm just going to do my own thing. And you may never get those people involved anyway. But I think I would guess that it's a question about time commitment more than anything else. Do we have the time to commit? And if we do, is it valuable? Is it worth our time? We're actually going to get something done. And something that I think we can do better about is being proactive about letting people know, like this kind of thing, letting people know what is expected and what the time requirement really is, and then helping people understand what we're actually getting done, on a regular basis. Here's some things that we've done. Here's an update of what's happened from the board. Here's an action that we've taken recently and what it did. Being more intentional about those things so that people do see the results. That would help me in my mind.
I think that people are either wired for service or they're not, whether they're a new or seasoned agent, and that it's a personality trait, maybe more than where they are in their business life cycle. That you're either wanting to affect change or be a part of the cogs of the wheel, or you just want to do your business and move on.
I agree with that, Steve.
I'd be curious if maybe somebody wanted to be involved, but maybe they didn't think that they had much to contribute, or they just weren't sure how much value they could bring, and so they held off. So one thing I've been trying to do is invite people to join programs, join committees, or encourage them to run for the board. I know I did that last year. I haven't really gotten that out this year. So everyone that's on the call officially, you've been invited or encouraged by me to go ahead and run for the board. I mean, I think anybody that can get involved, and maybe if you don't feel like you have enough time for the board, please look into our committees or our programs. That wouldn't take as many hours away from your business.
The time is an investment, though, in your association and in your personal growth. Doing something through Oakmar also affords you access to be more involved at the state level, and at if you're on the board of directors, to attend national conference meetings. And there is just nothing in the world like meeting and learning from, sharing with agents from outside of our market area, around the state and around the country. Those people have so much to offer, and we have lots to offer them, and to show them what Oklahoma City agents are like.
Hey, Linda, since you asked that question, I'm gonna ask you a question. Have you in your business or in your dealings, have you heard things from people that they say, well, I'd never be a part of that? Because I'd be curious if you've heard anything like that.
No, not at all. But every company that I've been with, and I've been with 3 and 21 years, but they just don't promote.
Mm.
And that's what I've been kind of thinking. I'm in the leadership class with. I'm taking that for the first time, with Cheryl Pickens, and I'm just seeing that we, why don't our brokers uh, promote that more? I mean, that should be a leadership role to promote an industry and to get involved in an industry that gives so much back to you. And I just recently, a year or so ago, launched my own company, and so that's the role that I have decided to take. And so that's why I'm getting more involved in Oakmar and just trying to find ways that I can serve, because I want to pass that on to my agents. Because I mean, if you're a member of something, then you need to give back as well. So
That's a
I
really
love
good
that.
point. Yeah, and about the role that the broker has in how their agents perceive the association or don't. Because the first, I don't know how many years for me that I was in real estate, my company not only kind of ignored the association, but it was like, well, we've got all of our own stuff. Why would you bother participating in what the association has when you can come to our thing instead? And it's great to have those things and to offer them. But I think also from the broker perspective, not leveraging the tools that we have, you're really missing out. And your agents are missing out by not really seeing the value that the association it has to offer in terms of so many things, education, the networking opportunities, like Steve mentioned, the conference opportunities, all those sorts of things that you can really leverage as a broker. You, you're kind of out there winging it on your own if you don't take advantage of those things. But all that to say, we've started this year trying to engage intentionally with brokers. And I know in the past we've had some efforts towards that, but we're trying some different routes this time to have kind of a working group of brokers that are there to tell us what they would like to see and to help us get better engagement from them, and then to help them understand what we can offer them and to help them help their agents, because there is almost I've seen it some places where there's almost it's like the association is a box you have to check so that you can go to work, and it's beyond that, it's nothing else for some brokers, and we need to work to change that. That's a really good point. I
It's a
rambled.
process.
It
It's a
is.
process to get brokers to really sign up for thinking that their agents are going to gain something. I think the rank and file broker is really only thinking in terms of what it's going to take away from their agent's business, and of course, most of the time that then translates into what is it going to take away from the broker. So they're not going to encourage somebody to do something that divides their time, and until they understand that it's going to actually increase their business or make them a better realtor.
Have you noticed any kind of like a increase in business? Is there any kind of prestige to being able to say, like, I'm a board member or I serve on these committees or anything like that? Have you noticed any kind of benefit?
Not directly from any kind of prestige, because I think that's a wrong reason to get involved. But it does come as part of the process, because you meet new people and you make connections with people around the state and around the country, and become memorable to somebody. So it might be turn into a referral opportunity, but it also can just turn into learning a new tool or different ways of doing a different part of your business that would increase it that way. Being a better agent and learning more, getting designations as a result of it, all contribute to making more money in the end. But I would hazard to say that shouldn't be your first reason for doing it, but it is a byproduct.
Yeah, I know right now I have my grandma's house listed and she's super impressed by it, but she's not the normal customer. Uh, but also, I just converted a FSBO. I had pictures done today, and it was one thing that it was just a phone call. Like, the guy's not in the state, so we can't even meet face to face. We've just had a couple of phone calls. And when I mentioned, that I'm on my board of directors, I'm really involved with my local realtor association and some at the state level too. He seemed to appreciate that. And I don't think it's just because of the prestige, but just to show that, hey, this is someone who volunteers their time who puts time into their community. And so I think that just kind of speaks to the type of person that would get involved that way.
Did that answer your question, Brad?
Yeah, I think so. I really just, kind of wanted, like, especially for Stephen, just being able to say, hey, I'm the president. Does that help someone who's trying to find an agent to sell their house? Does that?
I don't know if it actually does or not. I know that people will say things because, like, in the position of the president or one of the few officers, sometimes we'll be called on to do little interviews and that sort of thing. Like, I had our next door neighbor bring me a newspaper over, and they're like, "Hey, I know this guy," and I was like, "Okay, great." It's nice, and it is a reminder to people that you are in real estate and that you're very serious about it if you're committed at that level. But I haven't had something directly where I would say somebody said, well, I must list my house with you because you're the president of the association. I don't know if that's a factor. They haven't really thrown that at me. Maybe I need to use it better. Maybe that's my fault.
You could be wearing your crown and scepter better.
Yes, exactly. And to adjust it, get it just right. Any other from the Lydia or Gabriella or even Kimberly got on. Hi, Kimberly. Kimberly's on our board also. So one of the cool questions that they asked that you might want to answer, Kimberly, was what's your favorite thing about serving on the board?
So I was kind of like here and not here at the same time because I was having technical difficulties. Welcome to my world. I love everything about it. I love everything. I love service though. I heard that you guys say that sometimes you have to have that personality of service, and I definitely have that. I love serving other realtors. I love hanging out with realtors. Like, you guys are my jam. Like, I love everything about it. I love everything about being a part of decision making, just knowing, what's going on with those dollars. I was an ex-accountant, so all of that mattered to me. But I loved everything about growth, knowledge, exposure, just opening yourself up to meeting people that you wouldn't normally meet. And I've just forged, I think, some great connections, some really cool friendships with people that I would have never met. And it does also coincide with my business because when I'm on the other side of the deal with these agents, everything is just smoother, easier, just less tension and conflict because we know each other on another level. And I cannot say enough about it. So, and I'm brand new. So if you guys are thinking about it, I would say absolutely. I think it's made me a better agent. I think it's made me a better community member. I think it's made me just a better person. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. And I think too, there's depending on the people that are involved, I don't know what it is, but in some organizations you get like drama with people. When you have things like this, you get people with agendas and with drama. And in my years on the board, I haven't seen much of that. And I don't know if it's just this group of people and we lucked out and got some really good folks, or if we're doing something well, or what to attribute that to. But we haven't dealt with much of that. And I'm really thankful for that, because if that were what this was, I wouldn't be here. I can tell you right now, if you got in and it was a bunch of personal egos ramming heads and, idiotic behavior, I'd be the first one out the door. So I'm glad that we don't have much of that. And we really don't. I don't know, maybe people are keeping it to themselves, but I just haven't seen it much in my time. So I'm really grateful for that.
No, we're strictly business when it comes to the work that we have to do. I mean, there is drama in real estate, that's for sure. Just go to that Facebook group. But it doesn't to us.
Well, I can chime in on that. I think the reason why is because in the realtor community, we all have the same common goal. We're all, just trying to build our business, just trying to live our lives and build great communities. And I think if everyone has the same bottom or base, motivation, it just makes things run so much smoother. Everyone I think that I've met so far just wants to be there for their community. They want to build their business, so, and they want to help other realtors do the same. So I think when you have that commonality in intention, then it just keeps all of the drama, well, I won't say all of it, but down to a bare minimum, for sure.
Well, I think we covered some good topics here, and I want to thank you guys again for your questions, and thank you for your time for being here, and thank you to our board members who are here to answer the questions. And if something occurs to you after the fact, call one of us or get in touch with us somehow, and we can hopefully help you figure it out, or ask our staff members. They are very capable